Hey, welcome to Peculiar Sawdust. Today I'm going to show you pocket holes. Check it out. Alright, this is the jig that I have mounted on my workbench. I got this one set up for 3/4 inch because that's what I used mostly on my workbench. This one has a fancy gauge set up for your drill bit. It comes with a fancy stepped drill bit. I'll show you that in a little bit. It has this fancy gauge that you can put it in there, and the stop you can adjust for 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, all the way out to 1.5 inches, which is 2x4. So after you get that adjusted to the correct depth, which we're doing 3/4, chuck that up into your drill. Then you take your board, which is 3/4. I'm going to line it up for 2 of the holes. Make sure that you adjust this. This screws in and out so you can get a good solid fit. I've got it set for 3/4. And then you drill your holes. Now there's a fancy attachment here that you can hook up to your shop vac to suck all this sawdust out of here. My shop vac broke the other day, so I got to replace that or fix it. See, it drills the holes at an angle so you can put in your pocket hole screws. Alright. This is a different jig. I know a lot of you are thinking, oh, well, that thing's $200 that you had clamped to your bench there. Well, this one's only about $35, and this one does the exact same thing. It's set at the same angle as the other one, so it'll drill down in the wood and it'll create these same pocket holes. But this one I have set up for a 2x material, which is actually 1.5 inches. And the way you use this one is it has this fancy clamp. And what you do is you decide which face you want the holes drilled on. And you simply align that to the middle of your board. You butt those up, you clamp it down. And then you drill the holes right in like that. And then once you're done drilling those holes, you move that around. We can go to the other side of the board. We can go to a different board, whatever. This one, you move to the work. My other one I have clamped to my bench. I bring the work to it. This one's real handy if you're outside working on something. If you want to do a gate or a fence or something like that, using pocket holes, this one's way better than having to bring all the boards into the shop, drill the holes. This one you can take to the work. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, that's still $35. $35, that's an awful lot for a fancy little jig. Well, guess what? This thing's only like $8. I think it's 12. I don't know. But they're a lot cheaper. Okay? And this does the same thing that this jig does, but this only does one at a time. Okay? Now this one you're going to need to clamp it down to the board. Here's a board. You're going to need to clamp it down. Oh, that's backwards. So you'll need to just butt it up against there, find you a clamp, and then you drill your hole. And then move it over, drill another hole, move it over, drill another hole. So while this is more of a pain in the butt, this will save you money. It'll do the exact same thing as that $150 jig, as that $500 jig that I'm sure you can find on Amazon. I really want one, can't afford it. But it'll do the same thing, it's just not as fast. Alright, now I'm going to show you a little bit up close of what these do to the wood. You can see down here, if I can get it angled right, see how it drills at a slight angle down into the wood? It does not come out the other side, however. Okay? What I've done on this one is I drilled the same 2 holes, just like that, except I've gone over to the table saw and I cut out the profile. So you can see, focus, there we go, that it drills in, it creates this shoulder right there, and then a little pilot hole for the screw to go into. So what happens is when you run in your screw will come in and you'll drive it in through there and it catches on that little shoulder. I don't know if I can move my fat fingers. See, now it catches on that shoulder and you've got all this screw here holding in your board into the other board. Okay? That creates a real solid joint. But it also does not poke out the bottom of that board. Oh, out of frame. So if you got them butted together, you can't see it. so it hides completely in the board, unless you use the wrong size. All right, let's talk about screws. These are pocket hole screws. These are just regular construction screws. The pocket hole screws have this big shoulder at the top of them. See how big that is? As opposed to a regular screw, like this one here, is rounded at the top. See how it comes, it's rounded, okay? This will catch inside that pocket hole. Whereas this, it could catch, but it's more likely to blow right out the back, okay? So you don't want to use these. They'll work, but the pocket hole screws that are meant for pocket holes are way better. So here's one that's meant for 1¼ inch stock. This one's, I think it's 1¼ inch long. It's meant for 3/4 stock. And these are just regular construction screws, except for that one. Don't use that. It's a lag bolt. The Kreg screws drive in with a square drive, which is a little weird if you ask me, but they grip pretty good, as opposed to Phillips. Another thing when you're drilling these in is make sure you use a drill, not an impact. An impact driver looks a lot like that with this fancy knob up front. These drive in the screws so fast that it'll blast right out the back. So don't use those. Use a regular drill and probably turn down the power on it. Well, I hope you learned something about pocket holes today. Most folks will use this in addition to glue inside the joint, and they use the pocket hole screws instead of clamps. So you cut your piece, you drill your holes, glue it, screw it, move on to the next piece. You don't have to wait that 45 minutes or an hour to let that glue dry. You can just keep moving on. It'll still be a little bit insecure until that glue dries, and then you're rock solid. Now, if you're thinking, well, that can't be that strong, why don't I just go in through the sides? Well, this hides the joint much better, and once that glue sets up, it's plenty strong. I have seen these used for anything from building cabinets, picture frames. I even seen a guy build bunk beds from them, okay? They're plenty strong. It's very fast. Once you get set up, you can get rocking and rolling pretty quick. So I hope you learned something today. Maybe you can use it on future projects for yourself. This is Andrew from Peculiar Sawdust. Happy sawdust. Check out Peculiar Sawdust on Facebook.